What is up, Pats Nation? It's Patriots Global back here with another video, and in this one we're going to be talking about should the New England Patriots trade wide receiver Mohamed Sanu. Sanu has been a very interesting topic ever since being traded to the Patriots from the Atlanta Falcons back in October before the trade deadline. There was a lot of expectations put on Mohamed Sanu, some rightfully so, some were definitely a bit reaching. And a season later, we're kind of sitting here like, oof, was that a bust? Was that not a bust? Were expectations too high? Should the Patriots release him? Should they trade him? What do they do with him? Of course, I've talked a little bit about Mohamed Sanu in some past videos in the past on this channel. Of course, we talked about, is Mohamed Sanu a bust? If you guys haven't checked that video out, go check that one out. But the question on if the Patriots should depart with Mohamed Sanu is a very reasonable question, okay? I've seen a lot of people asking their thoughts to other Patriots fans on this topic. You know, should they release him? Should they trade him? And it's been a very cut close tie with answers. You know, it's about 50% saying they should keep him. It's about 40% saying that they should let him go. So obviously, it's a lot of butting heads, and there's about, really, in the end, 50% of people saying yes and 50% of people saying no. Of course, I think one of the biggest things here that people are even mentioning him being cut or him being traded is the fact that in 2020, which, by the way, will be his final season under contract, he's set to take up about $6.5 million against the Patriots cap. Okay, the Patriots are sitting at about $49 million in available cap, and they have a lot of guys to sign. They have a lot of areas that they need to fix and build off of that we've seen from this past season, but they have a lot of free agents that they must get re-signed. And when you're talking about $6.5 million, that's a lot of money that you could do a lot with. Again, Sanu was traded to the Patriots back in October, right before the trade deadline from the Atlanta Falcons. The Patriots sent over a second-round pick, which was pretty mind-baffling. A lot of people felt that exact same way, but the big reason that it was a second-round pick was because he was signed under contract for the next 2 seasons, but even then, it was a bit of an un-Patriots-like thing to give up a second-round pick. But a lot of people had the mindset of, well, if it works out, then who cares what they have to give up? That same season, right before being traded to the Patriots, Mohamed Sanu had 313 yards, averaging 9.5 yards a reception with a single touchdown. And that was with 7 games. Now, you go to his time with the Patriots for the rest of that season, he appears in 8 games where he has a total of 207 yards, averaging 8 yards a reception with 1 touchdown. His best game with the Patriots came in week 9 when the Patriots traveled to Baltimore to play the Baltimore Ravens, and he had 81 yards and 1 touchdown. But other than that, Mohamed Sanu was never really able to get things going. He had issues with routes. He had issues actually catching the ball, which was pretty surprising because we heard a lot of great things about Mohamed Sanu right when he got traded to the Patriots. We were seeing some really good videos, both from Mohamed Sanu we were hearing and from Tom Brady, that their connection was really, really good. And from the little bit that we saw within the first 1 or 2 weeks, it looked like that was the exact case. Then as things progressed, it looked like the exact opposite. Some people blame Mohamed Sanu's issues based off of the offensive scheme, the offensive play calling by Josh McDaniels, and I think that you can put some of that blame back on Josh McDaniels, but you also definitely have to put a good amount of that blame back on Mohamed Sanu. I mean, the amount of dropped passes that the guy was having, it was clearly an issue. I mean, especially for a guy that has very good hands. Now, I'm not going to say in this video whether or not I think Mohamed Sanu traded to the Patriots was a bust or not. If you want to know the answer to that, you're going to have to go check out my video again on which I talk about, is Mohamed Sanu a bust for the Patriots or not. But there are some people who believe that the Patriots would not be able to trade Mohamed Sanu. Some people feel that if the Patriots want to get rid of him, that they would have to just straight up release him. And I think that that would be one of the most disappointing things from the Patriots in a while, especially to Pats fans, considering they gave up a second-round pick for the guy. Because, I mean, right now, the Atlanta Falcons just finessed the Patriots in this trade. But I fully believe that if the Patriots want to trade Mohamed Sanu, if they want to, that they definitely could get compensation back for him and that they should not just fully release him. I don't believe that they're going to get a second-round pick. In fact, I can guarantee you that they will not get better compensation than what they gave up for him. They won't get a second-round pick. They won't get a first. They'd be lucky to get a third. But when you look at what Mohamed Sanu brings on, again, $6.5 million in cap. He's in the final year of his contract. In his time there with the Patriots towards the end of the season, he wasn't looking so great. His draft capital and his draft status would not be up there. Or I'm sorry, not draft, his trade status. But just because it's not up there, it wasn't as high as it was when the Patriots were trading for him earlier this past season, doesn't mean that the Patriots can't get some compensation. And look, even if it's a 7th-round pick, that's better than just full-on releasing the guy and not getting anything. But now it's time for my honest opinion. Should the New England Patriots trade him? And if you watch that video where I talked about, is Mohamed Sanu a bust, then you probably already know my answer, and that's no. They shouldn't trade him, at least not just yet. Okay, they traded for him towards the end of October. The season had already started. The Patriots were not in a position where they were focusing on individual players, okay? It wasn't the offseason, wasn't the preseason games, it wasn't training camp, OTAs, mini camp. They were focused on winning football games. They were focused on the opponent, not necessarily the players that they had within the organization. Let's give Mohamed Sanu a full offseason to learn the Patriots playbook, to get more comfortable, to fully dive into things, to have Josh McDaniels really be able to utilize him, because let me tell you, they definitely did not utilize Mohamed Sanu enough, especially with the cannon arm that he has. We also heard nothing but great things about Mohamed Sanu and the Tom Brady connection, especially right away. And if they were able to build some type of connection and great chemistry as well as it was being made of, especially so soon, then I can only imagine what they're able to do if they can fully get things under wraps, having a whole offseason to work together. But of course, that also goes back to the fact if the Patriots can actually bring back Tom Brady. And look, if the Patriots really are seeing things that, let's say in training camp that they're like, we're not liking this isn't going to work out, and they feel they have to trade him right there, right then okay, I trust Bill Belichick, I trust the moves that he's going to make, but what I really want to see the Patriots do is roll with him into the beginning of the regular season at least. Now, if it's still not working then and you need to trade him, then trade him right before the trade deadline. But at least give him the benefit of the doubt to be like, okay, we gave up a 2nd-round pick for you, let's see what you can do. I understand that he will be taking up about $6.5 million in available cap, but Mohamed Sanu is a good wide receiver. He has a lot of great things about him, not just as a pass catcher, but as a passer. And I understand that Josh McDaniels had a very off year, but if he can find a way to get himself back together and become the offensive coordinator wizard that he's proven to be in the past, then the Patriots have a very deadly weapon on their hands. You knew the contract that you were getting from him when you made the trade. You gave up a whole 2nd-round pick for him. You know that there's something within him that you don't want to let go of. I also don't want the Patriots to go into this offseason or even going into the start of next season with the same issue that they've had the past couple of seasons, and that's the issue with the rotational door of wide receivers within the New England Patriots organization. It's always bringing in a player at the beginning of free agency, letting him go at the start of OTAs, bringing in a new wide receiver at the start of minicamp, releasing him by training camp, getting a new player in the middle of training camp, and then releasing him before the season starts. The Patriots need to have guys that they're able to work on for an extended period of time, get really divulged into the offensive scheme and the playbook, learn good chemistry with Tom Brady, and ultimately just not expecting your offense to work fluidly when you're bringing in a guy right before the start of the regular season, but more importantly, bringing in half of your offense as new players to your entire scheme, which is the hardest to learn out of every offensive scheme book in the entire NFL, and having them all being new rookies and new additions to your team this whole offseason. Because experience and familiarity within a scheme, within a team, is very, very, very important. So that's my thought on the question, should the Patriots trade Mohamed Sanu? What are your guys' thoughts on the whole situation? Let me know in the comments below. And if you would trade him, what compensation would you be looking for in return? Make sure you guys like this video and subscribe if you have not already. It seriously helps the videos out and more productions of videos like this to come within the future. But other than that, I will catch you guys in my next video.